Today's goal, helping you find better professionals. Thank you for tuning in to my Obsessed and Optimistic channel. So I've had a lot of questions online and some peers asking, how do we find what is a quality professional? What are the questions I should be asking for? What are some of the pitfalls? And even just some story examples that I can share from past experience with clients, keeping their names confidential, of course. Hopefully I'll be able to help you set up a little bit of framework to make sure you're using the right team. So let's get right at it today. One of the ways in being able to save money or find more money is making sure that you're using a quality professional. They'll either help you save the money or you might be overpaying for a service that you're not really getting. Either way, you need to make sure that that value lines up. One of the main things, and when I'm talking about professionals, I'm thinking financial advisors, accountants, maybe attorneys, professionals in that space. This could be adapted for a lot, but the conversation I'm having is going to be around those professionals. So one of the main things that I start with is credentials or certifications. For the CPA space, you can be a CPA, you can be what they call an EA, which is an enrolled agent. You might have someone that just ran a tax shop for 20 years and has no certs at all. Might be a good tax person, might not. There's going to be a lot of other questions that are going to have to come into play. Also in the financial advisor side, you could have somebody like a CFP, Certified Financial Planner. All of these certs have regulations and rules and testing that they have to pass in order to have them. So not that you can't find a CPA who doesn't know what they're talking about or maybe is giving wrong advice. That can happen. But looking at people's credentials and certifications, it does puts them in a position where they have more skin in the game. And that can benefit you as long as trying to get this comfort level of, can I trust this person? Because ultimately that's what it's going to come down to. So let's hit on some hot topics or just things we have to make sure that we're covering. What's the compensation like? How does this person get paid? Is it a fee only? Is it a percentage? Is it a commission? Are they getting paid up front? I've seen a lot of scams ran where there's professionals offering to do a one-time service. It can be tax specialized or otherwise, where they promise the sun and the moon, they need this fee up front. And once you're committed and you've paid the fee, their service level really drops off. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's not the level of service that you intended when you started the service with them. So be wary of those ones that charge fees up front. It's not the end all be all. Some products, once the client gets paid, it's hard to get paid afterwards, and they want to get paid up front to stop wasting time on collections and spending more time doing services. So there is both sides of that. In the, let's say, financial advisor type space, commissions become a really important thing, because if they're motivated by getting a larger commission, maybe they're going to lean you towards a certain product. Certain professionals and their credentials are not allowed to do that. Other ones aren't. And again, this is one of the reasons why it's important to ask for their credentials, but also to ask, what's this fee arrangement? Let's know going into it how people are going to be compensated. A good sign is that the professional is explaining to you all the fees up front. When they're telling you the value of what they're going to do, they tell you all of the fees, so there are no surprises. And when you're working with them, as you continue to work with them, if there are no surprises, there isn't any extra fee and everything is lined up to that communication, that's a great piece to have some comfort with the professional you're working with. Another item to look at is, how much experience do they have? Have they been in this industry for a long time? Have they been in for a short time? I came out of working from the ERC credit window, and there was a bunch of people that just jumped into the space because there was potential commissions and money to be made there, but they didn't have any experience doing it, nor had they done any before that they had got into that group or started referring the work out. When they don't have the specialization in the industry that you need, that's a concern. Also, if you have somebody that wants to be everything that you need for taxes and you start asking questions in a space that you don't feel like they're qualified, or maybe their answers sound like they're winging it and going to get you some answers later, you really want to work with a professional that knows the space that you're specific in, your industry, your state, your locale, what are those special credits that are there. If they don't have that understanding, a lot of it can be missed. Some bigger groups will say, well, we have software that gets all of that. They're relying on the software to be the professional. And I know personally, if I was working with somebody and I had the option between the software will hopefully catch it, maybe it was designed properly, or I have somebody with 20 years experience that's worked in that exact industry and is very versed in the regs and can talk to it right off the top of their head, very experienced and with real examples. You're going to want the experienced person. So just make sure that what you're relying on isn't a structure of, yes, we can promise it, but that the background is actually someone with the experience that can do what they promised for you. So another item to be considerate of is, what's the mix of services that this place provides? Again, I'm not using myself to try to pitch more work. I'm not really out there doing tax services, but using my company as an example. I worked within particular industries that I had experience with. I'll give you an example. Farming isn't a space that I'm versed or that I have a lot of experience in. If somebody came to me that had a farm, there are particular credits and things that work on the government side that I really don't understand. And I could rely on the tax software to help me, but it's just not a space that I know. So you want to find somebody that isn't going outside of their box, but that where they're working is the expertise that you need. I'm going to do tax services. I'm going to do payroll. I'm going to do bookkeeping. I'm going to do forensic legal support work. I have a certification to be able to do that. But if you find that your CPA, who may appear like they're just a tax shop, and maybe that's exactly what they are, and an option for an additional service comes up, let's say it's forensic court work, and they're like, yeah, I can do that. And you're picking them up, but they don't really have the experience in that. You have a firm that's trying to do all of the services possible. There is a real fear in the professional space that if I have some of the professional work on my client, they may leave. I might lose them. But you should never agree to do work that's outside of the scope of where your experience is. So look at the mix of services that a firm is providing. They really should have a staff with experience that matches that blend of things. It shouldn't be that they're offering everything possible. And there should be some correlation between the services they're doing or certifications that they have that match that service mix that they're offering. Look at the mix of services. If they're doing too much, I would probably say let's find somebody that specializes more to a few specific niches that meet what your needs are, and vet out those type of professionals. So one of the fronts that I've always taken personal is communication. As a tax professional, there's a lot of really particular jargon to tax code and how we communicate things, what risks are involved, but ultimately it's the client or you that is signing your name on the tax return. If auditors come or whatever worst case scenario happen, it's going to be you, not your professional. So what are those risks, and do you clearly understand them so that you can accept them and you're comfortable with the positions that you've taken? It is critical that you're not just going to a referral that, oh, this is somebody that my friend spoke really highly of. Great. But when you communicate with them, do you clearly understand the positions that you're taking? Can they communicate in a way that works for you? I will tell you that I don't fit with everyone that's out there, but I know that my client base fit very well for my level of communication, and they enjoyed it and they valued it, and they could make correct decisions on risk or whatever else that we were doing based on that communication. And I wanted them to have that. If the communication is really rushed, or there is really no feel for, are we a good fit? And it's really, here's what we can do and let's move past that. Again, these are concerns of, is this the right professional for you? Another question I think is really good is, does the professional ever reach out to you proactively? Is there any time of the year where you get an update saying, hey, some tax changes happened. Have you considered these things? Or this is the time of year where people normally make quarterly payments and you do too. Here's a reminder. What does that look like? Is there no outreach? And another really important one is, how long do you wait to get an answer to your question? I'll use it as an example. Me personally, I worked with an attorney on a particular project, and some of them have different feels. Ultimately, when I worked with this attorney, it took a long time, and the end result was everything that I asked him for up front. So he did perform and give me what I wanted. Great end result. But in between, when the process was happening and new claims and letters and things were coming out, and I was having the feels of, look at all these things that are happening, I would call or email and want a response, and I got nothing. For this attorney, the way his structure was, to be efficient, is everyone's going to panic. I'm not going to deal with the panic. I'm going to tell you up front what I'm going to do. I'm basically going to ghost you. And then in the end, I'm going to give you the results you want. And can you really be upset at that? So I use this as an example on the communication front. How long does it take to get an answer? If all I really cared about was the end result, and he got it, maybe this is good enough for me. But I will say that for your financial advisor or for your accountant, These people that you're going to work with year after year. And even more so, let's say in the financial advisor space, this is someone that really you're hoping is going to put in a successful plan for you, that when you get to retirement, you have the funds and things you need to live properly. It may even be part of the plan that's going to give some of your children or future family benefits. So we want them to work. You really need to have a good connection with them and regular communication. If that's not happening, I don't think that's a very successful fit for you. So how long do I have to wait till I get a response? Is it 24, 48 hours? Do they have a team I can regularly ask? I can be understanding that if there's somebody at the top of a company and I want to talk to them, I can't send an email and get a call back in 10 minutes. But do I get that response? Or is there somebody else being assigned to that gives me the appropriate response and time and consideration that I need? Even in today's world where things are getting busy and fast, good clients get communication. And if you're not getting that direct communication, it's either a bad service provider or he is saying that he values the other clients more than you because they're the ones that are clearly getting the communication. And if you're in that position, is that really where you want to stay? So let's be honest with some of the feedback we're getting on. Are we getting real communication? Are we not? Another piece that kind of works with communication is the personality fit. Do you enjoy the conversation when you're talking with this professional? Do they listen to your goals or do they push their own agenda? Do they understand your risk tolerance and respect your values for whether it's your tax appetite or how you want to invest with your financial advisor? What is the feel of that as far as the fit with that professional? And again, I would say the ones that you're working with long term, it's really important that that fit is correct. So I want to give you some resources. And again, I'm doing this for several different professionals. So maybe some of these questions will apply for the one professional you're working with. Maybe it's not. But I wanted to give you some general questions that you can use. We're also going to attach a downloadable form that has some of these general questions that if you are going in to meet with an advisor, maybe interview them for the first time to see if you're a good fit, that would give you some of these questions, probing questions. And it's not just the question you're asking, it's how they respond. How long they're taking to respond, if they can even respond, and how we feel about it. So diving into some of these questions, what would you recommend for someone in my position if you weren't being paid? What clients do you usually work with? How often will we communicate on this service you're performing? What's a piece of advice you gave a client that saved them a lot of money? How do you keep up with changing regulations? If I get audited, what does the support look like? Now, I could deep dive on the why for a lot of these questions or experiences that I've had, but I think they're pretty critical. Use these, see how they respond. It should give you a feel of where they're at. You can ask, hey, do you have a certification? Great. But we want something that dives a little deeper in their experience of what they've done, or this will give us some framework of how the service is going to feel when they're actually doing it. And if they can't give a really quick, easy response, it's possible that this isn't part of their norm and they're just trying to say something that'll make you use them. So make sure that we're watching them for a response to see if this is natural and part of their normal process. And I wanted to end just using an example story that I've had before. And I'm going to use the financial advisor space. I could use some more for a tax related. And again, in comments or things, if there's something really specific you want to hear or your example, I'd love to use it as a case study and I'll do another video on it. I think the more that we can share, we can help out in the public to make these good decisions. But touching the financial advisor space as an example, the financial advisor typically is somebody that's taking either your retirement funds or money that's outside of retirement funds, but basically managing the investment, helping you make sure that you have some type of mix of investments, stocks, bonds, whatever it may be, so that you feel comfortable with this long-term plan at retirement. One, it'll have grown to a certain size, and two, it'll give the end result of the payouts over time that you need to retire properly. The bulk of financial advisors are going to have all their conversations with you around the investment. And you can go to a bank branch where you'll have somebody that might be fresh out of college with some type of financial degree, no certifications at all, but they've had a certain amount of training and they're using the bank's structure and format to try to service you as best as possible. You can also have somebody that has a certification that's running their own brokerage that is working with you specifically, and they have crazy amounts of experience in what works, what doesn't, how to link up certain products to give you a better benefit. It doesn't matter too much who you're using as long as the end result is something that you're okay with. There is a higher price point in working with higher professionals, but ultimately the benefit should outweigh that. You might have to have a large enough investment account before it's worth going to one of them, because the fee that they're getting paid is typically based in assets under control. And if you really don't have a lot invested, I don't know how much focus you're going to get on them one-on-one. You will find some great firms that will grow with you, and so they don't really care the size of assets that you have. But just taking this as the general financial advisor, that they're working on trying to make investments work for you. I had a financial advisor that I was working with that was really diverse in how retirement plans work. And for the particular business, they had a retirement plan. We'll say it was a small plan, very minimal, and they put some money into it, but it was nothing that extraordinary. And a circumstance came up where, from a tax standpoint, and this is where I came in, we wanted them to get a much larger deduction if it was possible. But there's rules for retirement plans, and how are they designed? How do they work? What can you do? What can't you do? Is it going to give the owner a large enough benefit that it's worth it for them to do this plan? Or when they set up the plan, is it really going to all the employees? Is that what the owner wants? Is all the employees fine? Or does the owner really want a benefit? In most cases, I find the owner needs to get a substantial benefit. And if there is some other benefit to the employees, that's fine. But if we can't hit certain marks for the owner, then the owner typically doesn't want to invest the money and time to build out this larger plan. Well, I had a financial advisor that had a deep understanding of retirement plans, how they were structured, how they were set up. This is a level of experience he had that just isn't like a lot of other financial advisors. So he had other professionals that work with structuring these, and he was very successful in setting them up. I worked with him in the tax side to make sure that we were going to get these tax deductions, and it worked great for the client, so they could have these large deductions, these plans meeting their goals, and they're getting to put money away for retirement and not pay taxes on it. Wonderful. So I work with a financial advisor that has this expertise, that would design these plans, and then he'd do the meeting, present all of the facts, normally meet with them several times because it took a lot of data and detail and understanding of the client to make sure that this was built to match what they would want. And then ultimately that client would be having a conversation with me on the side saying, I really just want to stay with the financial advisor I have already. It's a family friend, it's a longtime person I've known, and this person, although they did a great job to set up all this options for a new plan, I don't know them. So I don't know if I want to switch to that. And one of the things that was always frustrating to me is the financial advisor that you had never brought up these concerns or ways that you could have saved money. And now that you have a financial advisor that is proactive and is doing those steps, you're going to go back to your original advisor with the plan that the other guy had and say, hey, this other advisor told me I could do this awesome plan, and here's some of the generals. Can you do it too? Because I'd rather just stay with you. You're soliciting your professional to say yes. And whether they're going to do a great job or not, you may never know because it's not in the space that you know, but you're going to feel comfortable because you didn't have to switch. Sometimes the burden of having to switch a professional is stressful and people just don't want to deal with it. And so they make bad decisions to stay with the professional that clearly wasn't giving them the advice that they needed, wasn't being proactive, wasn't helping them. Who knows how many years they could have been saving money on this plan already have passed that they never got the advice. And then when they do find what I will call a good professional that took the time to go through things and set you up and show you a proper plan, you still go back to the original one and say, can you do it too? Of course they're going to say yes. And they're going to set up a plan. But my question to you is, are you really getting the benefit, the full benefit of this? Are you using a real qualified professional that knows what they're doing? And so I just give that as an example because as you look at different professionals and you're seeing what they have for skills or their experience or what they're bringing to the table, you really have to ask yourself, if you choose to stay and kind of take that advice you got from the other guy, but stay with the original one that I have, is that really going to give you the benefit that you want? And I would challenge you that if somebody is giving you the better advice that you've never got with your other one, it's time for you to be looking to a professional that's more proactive. You should be getting that regular review of your work, considerations to change, or them asking you, what are you looking for in your goals now? Let's see if there's anything we can update or revise. Maybe there's a new strategy we can implement. If you're going to a professional, tax place or otherwise, and they just churn out your tax return every year and you barely talk to them, are they really looking at your strategy? Are they really talking over things? I think there's a real value there. And if you're missing that, odds are you're probably missing deductions. Same thing from the financial advisor space. If you're not working with one that's giving you strategies and updating and looking at things, are you really getting the best service? You are paying them a fee. some fee, commission, percentage of assets, whatever it is, you should be getting a value for that. So make sure that you're actively engaging with your professionals. And if they're not, make sure that you're finding one that will. They are out there, they're good, and you'll find that you'll get the better results. So in the space of trying to find you money or helping you save money, make sure that you have the right professional. It does pay out in the long run, and you need someone that's actively working on your account. As always, I'm out here wanting to give education and make sure that I can help direct people to use the professionals in a better way. I always have to add my disclosure. I'm not here trying to represent you in any capacity as a tax professional. I'm just giving the education so that you can take it back and work with the team that you have. I'm not trying to represent you or give any tax advice in that way. But I do want to educate and give proper rules for what is out there. If you have questions, you want a regulation, I'll give you the regulation. But I'm not representing or doing work for you. That's my advice for this clip. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it.